Okay, we're back. I'm going to try this again. I've tried this 3 times, realised I've had some problems with this first pay-per-view. Rey Mysterio versus Lizmark Jr., Challenger of the Month. Basically, Lizmark has won a number 1 contenders match to get this. Goes over and goes over in that qualifying match to take on Rey. Rey manages to go over him. Bam Bam versus Jerry Flynn, just another guy Bam Bam hasn't had a chance to have a title match with yet. And yeah, Bam Bam goes over. He's just kicking ass. Outsiders versus the first family of Hugh Morris and Brian Knobbs. And well, with this, essentially, Jimmy Hart wants those tag belts, and the first family has been trying to screw the outsiders out of them because they think it'll be easier to get them. So that way. But what do you know? The first family got into this match because the outsiders are sick and tired of them interfering in their matches, and they want a piece of them now. So yeah, it's on in this match, and the outsiders go over. Booker T versus Stevie Ray. Thing about this one is Stevie Ray is wanting to repair his relationship with Booker, but Booker's not having it. He's not buying it, and Booker's on high, and basically it leads to a match between the two of them, and Vincent tries interfering to help out Stevie Ray, but Stevie Ray's like, "What are you doing? This is my brother. I wanted a fair match." And Vincent's like, "What?" And wham, Booker T managed to get the advantage and win the match. And after the match, Stevie Ray gets up, shakes his hand, and then Vincent's like, "What are you doing?" And then Stevie Ray and Vincent go at it, setting up a match, not on Nitro. I doubt I'd want to put that on pay-per-view. Really. 4-way. DDP versus Sting versus Goldberg versus Sid. DDP manages to pin Sting. Goldberg pins Sid. And then it is down to the two of them. Goldberg versus DDP. Crowd is probably on the edge of their seat. Want this. They're like, we get the chance of DDP, we get chance of Goldberg. They're going at it. And Goldberg just manages to hit that spear, calls for the jackhammer. Wham. Jackhammers him. 1, 2, 3. And Tony Schiavone is like, finally, he's got the belt back. He's gone through hell to do it, but he's got the belt back. After being screwed out of it time and time again, he's finally got the belt back. But at the end of the match, DDP grabs the mic and says, "I want a rematch next month at Halloween Havoc." Drops it, drops the mic. Goldberg says, "You're on. I've already set up the match, the main event for the next pay-per-view already. Alright. The Revolution. Going into War Games. Because yes, War Games is happening at this pay-per-view. It's Shane Douglas, Perry Saturn, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko versus Ric Flair, Kurt Hennig, Barry, and Kendall Windham. So it's kind of like a mock-up 4 Horsemen. But we're going to call them Team Flair because we're not going to go that way. And probably even have Arn Anderson in the corner and that. But what do you know, the Revolution goes over because they're the new guys and we want to establish them, even though. And plus we'll pin Flair because, well, anything for that. And what do you know, we established a new team. Well, now we're going to Halloween Havoc. Got plenty of time here. Rey Mysterio versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. Mysterio goes over. Might even have Eddie interfere in that match. On either side, you know. He's got history with both people. Television title, Bam Bam Bigalow versus Perry Saturn. But Bam Bam manages to go over despite probable interferences by Dean Malenko, Shane Douglas, and Chris Benoit. Maybe. Maybe not Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko, because they're in the next match. Taking on the Outsiders, so probably Shane Douglas in that one. For a brief amount of time. Back and forth. Really hard-fought match. You know what? Though Scott Hall manages to get the advantage on Dean Malenko, raises edge or outsider's edge, whatever you want to call it, goes over. And then we go in the U.S. title match, Booker T versus Shane Douglas. Shane Douglas wins. Heel tactics to win this match. But no interference. Because, well, Bam Bam would have busted up Perry Saturn. And Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko would have been licking their wounds from the previous match. So there wouldn't have been a chance for interference. But Shane manages to go over. Using low blows, whatever you want. Maybe, I don't think it's chair shot. I think I want to have him pretty clean, but like not like clean cut. Now, we've sort of established that there's been this ongoing relationship in the past between Lex and Sting, and they're sort of... Well, there was, but now they're back together, but they're a heel team. They're heels. They're been... both of them have been trying to take out Hogan and Flair. And Flair's like, what the heck are you doing, Lex? We were friends. Sting, I understand. I pissed him off numerous times. Hulk's like, brother, what are we going to do, brother? And, like, the last Nitro beforehand, like this, Hulk's in the ring cutting a promo on Sting, going, brother, at Starcade 97, you managed to beat me, but blah, blah, blah. But when the largest part of those, then we get, woo! Out comes Ric Flair. He gets in the ring and says, brother, you and I have never got along. You and I have never seen eye to eye on anything. But you have to think of it this way. No matter what, Sting's going to want to interfere in my match that I have with Lex. Lex is going to want to interfere in your match that you're having with Sting. Why not have us team up and we will defeat them together? Crowd's like, what the heck's going on? Hogan and Flair coming together for this match. Completely unheard of. Like, at a pay-per-view, these two in a tag match? What the heck? Unheard of. Anyway. Lex and Sting go. Then are sitting in the standing in the back. It's not going to work. We accept the match because them two are never going to be able to work together. Flair is going to turn on Hulk just for the hell of it, and that's the way we're going into this, because we're going to be like questioning: is Hogan going to be able to trust Flair? But the ironic point is, it's Hulk that turns on Flair. He does the beats him up, big boot, leg drop, leaves him hanging. Sting and Lex are like, what the heck? And he's just left out there. And 1, 2, 3, and the match is over. And Flair's like, Main event, Diamond Dallas Page versus Goldberg. Goldberg goes over. Good 20-minute match. I think DDP would manage to keep him hanging, but I think people would be talking about that Lex Sting and match. But I think Goldberg and DDP have had some good. Would have a good match. Rey Mysterio. Now we go into Mayhem. Rey Mysterio versus Kaz Hayashi. Kaz sneaks out a win. Kaz manages to defeat Rey in this match. Bam Bam Bigalow versus Buff Daddy Buff Bagwell. Bagwell ends the streak too. So both those titles and Bam Bam, long running TV champion, probably close record then in at least Stone Cold's. Yeah. So then we have the tag team title triple threat match. It's the Outsiders versus Berlin and the Wall versus Billy Kidman and Conan. Scott Hall pins Berlin. Yeah, basically triple threat thrown together type match. Idea being that. Yeah. U.S. title, Shane Douglas versus Eddie Guerrero. And this is... Shane Douglas wins the match, but there's his three boys standing there not doing anything. It's like Shane just keeps looking back, waiting for he's signaling them to come in when the referee's down easily, and they're just standing there. They're not shaking their heads, not doing anything, just standing there, making sure no one is interfering in this match. Like Douglas comes over, and we even get the camera up, and it's like Shane's like, "What are you doing? I could have won this match. Like, why didn't you come in?" And he's like, "Not Eddie." They're just like, each of them say that to him. Not Eddie. Like, Shane's like, "What do you mean? Not Eddie?" It's like, and then later on we'll establish that those two have a friendship in that. Triple threat match: Jeff Jarrett versus Vampiro versus Booker T. This is just a triple threat match, basically, to re-establish the rankings. This is to set up something for the next night on Nitro or something. It's just, I wanted these three guys to have a match, and yeah, they want to have a match just because the three of them are trying to climb the ladder, and they each cost one another a match. Vampiro, let's say, cost Jeff Jarrett a match. And Booker got screwed by both of them in matches. Let's just say that, screwed out of getting his rematch for the U.S. title. And yeah, number one contender for Starcade: Bret Hart versus Chris Benoit. Basically, Bret has gotten this shot at the championship, but he says, "No, I want to earn it." And there's a name and the powers that be say, "Fine, we're gonna have you pick your opponent, but it has to be someone we agree to." And they immediately go, Chris Benoit, and powers that be go, "You got it." Rematch from Nitro or the tribute match, yeah, fine, that's fine with us. And Benoit makes Benoit puts in a hard-fought victory. It's another like back and forth match. It's a couple of times you think Chris is going to go over here, but no, it's Bret. Bret goes over to win the match. Now, a retirement match, because this was coming up at this time. Whoever gets pinned in this match has to retire. It's Ric Flair and Curt Hennig versus Lex and Sting. Now, the pressure is being put on Flair in this match too. Like, people are thinking he's going to retire. He's been wrestling for years. Curt Hennig, been wrestling for years. Sting, like, people forget he's been wrestling for probably close to 10 years at this point. Lex, same story. Like, you could see any one of these guys getting the pinfall in this match, I think. So, yeah, but I would even have it, like, leak out that maybe Rick is not 100% at this point. You know, it's just stuff like that. But Sting makes Curt Hennig go out, submit, and Kurt's out. And, like, even the next night on Nitro, I'd put a tribute video together, like, all his stuff that he's done, all the footage that they can get their hands on. And, like, a little music video. I think that would be cool. Yeah, world title match. Last man standing match. Goldberg versus Sid. Goldberg and Sid have had numerous matches. So why have them have any other kind of match? Goldberg versus Sid. Both guys is like, I'm going into Starcade and I'm going to be the champion going in and I'm going to beat whoever, whether it's, obviously now it would be Bret, but whoever shows up. And like, we go Goldberg's like, we're just going to be at the end of that match. Who's next? Who's next? And like, Goldberg and him are like, bam, 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 all throughout the match. There's just back and forth, hard hitting type shit. And, well, you know, spear, jackhammer, and Sid gets up. Another spear, another jackhammer. Sid gets up. It's like, what's it? And then eventually it's like, what is it going to take to pin this guy? And then, well, you know, it happens. It's a spear onto a chair. Chair in the, and then Goldberg sets up the chair in the middle of the ring, jackhammers him, slams him onto the chair. Now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and at this point too, Goldberg's a bloody mess. Sid's got, well, I know he wasn't good at bleeding, but I imagine like he chances are they a bit hard weight or something, and quite a bit of blood there too. Yeah, so yeah. Anyway, now we head to Starcade. Kaz Hayashi taking on Billy Kidman. It just doesn't matter who wins any of these matches. But I would still have Kaz go over. Buff Bagwell versus Berlin. Doesn't matter who wins that one. Like, I'd be happy with either guy. But I'd probably want Buff to continue on. He's never won that singles belt. So I'd make a big deal about him coming out the next night on Nitro, holding that TV title after beating Bam Bam. And Bam Bam would not be happy. Outsiders defending the belts against Eddie Guerrero and Conan, as well as Lex Luger and Sting. They've sort of put in their 2 cents to win this thing. I probably would have Lex and Sting hold the belts, just because, well, the Outsiders have held them for a while. Not to take anything away from Eddie and Conan, but this would be like one of their first title matches, and not to say that's happened, but yeah. This match, Shane Douglas versus Chris Benoit. following that incident at Mayhem, Chris sort of like steps up, and he's sort of like, it's Shane Douglas is no longer like the members of the Revolution have sort of turned against him, and they're like, he's like, we're not doing that shit to Eddie. Eddie's family, you know. Eddie's my best. Is like my best friend. He's Dean's best. He's one of Dean's best friends. Perry is everything. That's what it's about, you know. And Shane's like, no way. And then eventually, it's like, Shane's like pissy, and that leads to this match: Vampiro versus Booker T. Booker T goes over. Sid versus Ric Flair. You can bring up that whole thing with Sid and Arn, and with that, I don't know if you would, but yeah, that's what I would go with. Or just go through the history between those two, that they don't like each other, and yeah. And I'd have Sid pin Flair purely for size reasons, and maybe do shit again. Bret versus Goldberg. Goldberg's held that belt for a while, but I reckon you could get like a few matches out of this. You don't necessarily have. I have Bret winning here, but you don't necessarily have to go that way. I could have gone the other way and still made it interesting, but I think purely certain reasons, like I would have Bret go over here, so like Bret's redemption in WCW. And yeah, you don't have to go down the road of them being tag team partners and bullshit like that. It just has to be these. Goldberg is facing a challenge unlike any other that he's faced. But yep, that's it, guys. That's 99 for us. That's only took in a couple of videos, so yeah, we'll be back. Another edition of Bookeroo surely coming up soon, and we'll probably do something in the 2000s with WWE.